This was a little different for you this year because usually you repel right the day before the winter meetings. You had a little breathing time and got to name a new manager this time.
Yeah, it worked out better that way. I don't like having to jump off the building and then jump on an airplane, and so at least we got a week separating that gap, and so we get to hit the ground running now this following week going into Orlando, so I'm thankful for that.
So let's stay in that moment. Hit the ground running. Aaron Boone mentioned in the press conference on Wednesday that he and you are in constant contact now once he got the job. What are some of the details of what you guys are working out now in terms of getting him immersed in the managerial culture of the Yankees?
Well, mainly, he's getting acquainted with our systems that we currently have in place, so getting him up to speed about all those opportunities that they bring, and mostly engaging him regarding his interest in coaches as well as suggestions that we might have. So I'm cross-checking the personnel that he's recommending, and he's cross-checking the personnel we're recommending, and so we can get a meeting of the minds here, and probably within a week to 10 days we'll have a coaching staff in place.
Brian, there were so many things said about Aaron yesterday, from yourself to Hal Steinbrenner to Randy Levine. I wanted to ask you a bit of a fill-in-the-blank question. If I were to say Aaron Boone is going to be a successful Yankee manager because blank, how would you fill in that blank?
Well, it's a lot longer than just a word. I think he covers a lot of areas. I'm certainly betting on his ceiling because he was an impressive individual on so many fronts. But his relatability, his open-mindedness, his progressive side, as well as his fallback baseball experience from his own playing days, as well as his family history, all of those things are attractive qualities. So I think his baseball intellect, his open-mindedness, and his progressive-ness. And, he actually commanded the analytics side, more so than any of the other candidates as well. So he was an impressive person, and, I look forward to him, and growing with him and working with him and benefiting us in the seat now as a manager.
Brian, there are so many positives about Aaron Boone. In yesterday's press conference, I thought he handled himself perfectly. But the bottom line is this guy's never managed or coached before. As you're watching Aaron the first maybe month of the season, what would be your biggest concerns watching him manage a big league game?
That's something that we're all going to be watching how it plays out. I think the opportunity for a manager to have success is providing quality players that surround them. I think how he reacts in real time, remains to be seen. It's something certainly that I can't predict or overcome, and regardless, no interview process is going to bring that out. And even if I'm bringing somebody in who's been there and done that before in another location doesn't guarantee the similar type outcomes of success they may have had somewhere else. So it is definitely something that it'll be worth watching and seeing how it plays out. But I love how his body clock works. I love the demeanor that he exhibits. I don't feel like he's someone that has panic in him. He has, we've talked a lot I think in our world of people that have street smarts and common sense. I believe that he's got an internal compass of street smarts and common sense that has served him well his entire life, and that's one of the things I kind of was feeling, that presence in the interview room. So I think he's the type of person that whatever comes his way, he reacts properly in real time to, and I certainly betting on the fact that that's going to be the case in the managerial seat as well in game when he has to make quick decisions.
Cash, you were talking about one criteria being a really good communicator with the players, and you've said that Aaron is that. And the takeaway that I got from yesterday, at least one of them, was when talking about analytics and the information that he gets. Jack and I talked about the fact that we felt he digested very quickly, even reams of data, and maybe sort of parse out what he felt was the most important things for players to connect with. Could you see that would be something that he would do?
Absolutely. I think, he's going to manage the situation. And what all I want from the chair I'm sitting in is because, again, unlike the NFL, we're not connected to the dugout in game. When left to their own devices, how are they going to operate? And we're trying to hire we're always looking for the right candidate that's in alignment with us. And so the prerequisite is to have somebody that's in play that will leave every spigot open to let the information flow, whether it's from performance science, analytics, pro scouting, player development. That he's open-minded to receive all information and then obviously manage that information and laser focus it to who he thinks it would benefit and game plan off of that. That's it. Simple. It's not that hard. It's easier to discuss. It's harder to do, and that's why there's only 30 of these guys currently doing this, and so. We felt Aaron just demonstrated enough of those qualities that, yeah, he's going to want all of that information, and I think he's got the intellect to channel it in the right way to allow the players to be comfortable, allow the players to be knowledgeable, and then, as simple as stay out of the way and let them play for the most part, because if you give the good enough talent there, the manager, impacts game decisions for the most part, on a daily basis, but the players are really dictating what ultimately happens in that win column.
Brian, when you introduced Aaron Boone yesterday, there was a lot of talk about the 7-hour interview that he had. And you mentioned how he talked to a lot of people. You mentioned Tim Naring and Jim Hendry and Mike Fishman and Kevin Reese and other Yankee officials. I know you can't tell us what happened across those 7 hours specifically, but what role does each of those trusted advisors of yours play in coming back to you and saying what their thoughts were about Aaron?
Well, I want everybody's, opinion on how they impacted them. So, we break up the interview process by sending them downstairs into the training room to spend some time, for instance, with Steve Donahue, our head trainer, so Steve can have at it with them to get a feel from his perspective how he receives the medical information and how much, open-mindedness he is there. And same with, obviously, our strength coach, Matt Krause, or you farm him out to the media relations director in terms of Jason Zillow, and he has his core questions that he wants to run through that car wash on to get a feel for how he would respond under various circumstances, and he gets his own personal feel about how he would relate in that arena. Same with the mental skills side. Chad Bowling has his Obi-Wan Kenobi type stuff that he's going to run him through to get a better feel from his perspective of a lot of areas in terms of leadership and so, in terms of leadership communication, amongst other things, as he, would, be in that chair operating for us. And obviously our analytics team runs them through their own particular car wash, as I would call it. And so anyway, when the dust settles and you get everybody's personal input after the fact from their own area of expertise, what clearly played out was the surprising side that everybody's number one person was Aaron Boone, and that usually doesn't work out that way. But the process is designed to obviously have everybody have an important say, and then it's my job to make tough decisions from that. But because it played out that way, the decision was a little bit easier.
Brian, you mentioned that you're trying to put together a coaching staff. What qualities are you looking for in this coaching staff?
Well, like every coaching staff, you want, knowledgeable, progressive, hardworking, passionate, communication skills, knowledge in the arena that they're, specializing in. So, so we're going to be vetting certain candidates that Aaron's bringing to the table, and as he's vetting the candidates that we're suggesting for him to take a look at from within, because you always like to turn from within when possible. But I think we've shown that we promote people from within more so than anything else, and so that's what the next week to 10 days is going to bring.